The stage has well and truly been set for each and every one of these 10 compelling WWE Dream Matches, with passionate rising stars likely wanting to prove themselves against the very best, unstoppable champions wanting to add a legendary scalp to their list of victims, and returning icons finally looking destined to make an often dreamed about clash of generations a reality. So don't let us down, Trips, because I am Gareth, this is What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 WWE Dream Matches that will happen in 2024. Number 10, Rhea Ripley vs Becky Lynch. After taking down the Queen in one of the strongest bouts of the year at WrestleMania 39, Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley unfortunately hasn't carried that momentum through to the end of 2023. She wasn't really given a chance to carry it through to the end of the following month, to be honest. While there have been flashes of brilliance in superb showings against the likes of Natalya and Zoe Stark, Ripley has often disappointingly found herself more involved with the Judgment Day's infighting than the Raw Women's division. There's definitely still a dream contest out there that could help reignite her hit and miss spell as the Red Show's top women's champ though, and it's one that has been teased a few times on Monday nights over the last few months. Becky Lynch has gradually rediscovered the sort of defiant edge that helped transform her into one of the biggest names in the industry in the wake of a largely underwhelming war with Trish Stratus, producing wonderful work with NXT talents like Tiffany Stratton and Lyra Valkyria. And the idea of the babyface man with a point to prove trying to reclaim her spot at the top of the mountain against a monstrous nightmare could even be fascinating enough to close out one of the incoming Mania's nights, if the pair are given the time to get properly stuck into a program centered around who really is the true man or mammy of Monday nights, of course. Fingers crossed they do, eh? Number 9, Gunter vs Brock Lesnar. The sound that met the simple visual of the two gladiators known as Gunter and Brock Lesnar just staring each other down in the middle of the 2023 Royal Rumble match should have been enough to convince Triple H to commit to the first installment of this never-before-seen battle later that year. Instead, Gunter continued to conquer and eventually became the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, while the Beast turned his attention to the likes of Bobby Lashley, Omos, and Cody Rhodes in the months that followed. But surely it's only a matter of time before Papa H pulls the trigger on a match simply guaranteed to produce countless instantly iconic moments of brutality, right? Perhaps Lesnar will look to finally add an IC title to his long list of accolades at this year's show of shows. Or maybe an already dethroned Gunter's last violent hurdle before stepping up to challenge for either the World Heavyweight or undisputed WWE Universal Championship will involve him having to break Brock. Either way, 2024 looks like it could involve one of the most barbaric visits to Suplex City ever. Now I've got a quick question for you. Who do you think Lesnar should fight at this year's Mania? Should it be the Ring General or somebody else? You let me know in the comment section down below, baby. Number 8, Ilia Dragonov vs Seth Rollins. Outside of the aforementioned Gunter, a star Ilia Dragonov has already produced disgusting magic with in developmental a few times over the years. There is not a performer in the company who forces you to believe in how grueling and vicious this bumping world is more than the current NXT champion at time of recording. Combine that pretty much unmatched passion, skill, and intensity with an informed Seth Rollins, who seems to produce his very best work when paired with a performer determined to make his body look like one of his multicolored jackets, and you have the recipe for one of the most spectacular dream fights of 2024. Dumping Dragonov right into a high-profile feud with the current World Heavyweight Champion would be the preferred and admirably bold call. But even just sending Rollins back down to NXT for another ratings-popping fight next year would be an accepted alternative here, if it means fans get to watch the Mad Dragon and the Visionary beat the crap out of each other for 20 savage minutes. Number 7, Ronbreaker vs Bobby Lashley. Another developmental force of nature who will almost certainly make his presence felt on the main roster over the next year. The bloke with the baddest spear in the game may find himself having to defend that title pretty early on into his Raw or SmackDown run. In Ronbreaker, you pretty much have a Bobby Lashley 2.0, don't you? Freakish strength and speed, and a powerful arsenal that contains the tools to take out just about any monster in the company. The former NXT champion testing himself against one of the meatiest men the promotion has to offer then would likely result in the sort of dream popcorn mayhem WWE does best. Body-shattering spears, ridiculous displays of power, and if you really wanted to put over the exciting up-and-coming powerhouse, Breaker could even stun the world by breaking out of Bobby's all-conquering Hurt Lock. After an often frustrating rivalry with the Beast reached its lackluster end in 2023, Bobby reminding folks why he's still one of the most dynamic and reliable mountains of muscle in the business against a hungry referee breaker is certainly needed. So book it, trips. Number 6, the Creed brothers versus the Street Profits. Hitting the ground running in glorious fashion towards the end of 2023, the Creed brothers' arrival on the main roster has been handled superbly so far. And what better way to follow up those fantastic displays against the likes of DIY and the Alpha Academy, overflowing with outrageous athleticism and insane slams, than with another appetizing dream 2-on-2 encounter. A lot can happen over the course of a year, of course, and should the Creeds end up on the same roster as Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins at some point in 2024, bringing this thrilling showdown to screens has to be a priority. The Street Profits would unquestionably bump their socks off for the rocket-powered Julius and Brutus, and working with two of the most dependable balls of charisma in the company a few times would probably do the young suplex machines a world of good when it comes to evolving their characters in between the ropes and outside of them. But most importantly, who wouldn't lose their minds at the sight of Ford's absurd frog splash being smashed out of the sky by a Brutus bomb in midair? Magical. And you know what else is magical? You watching this video right now, so cheers for that. And if you like what you see, go and tap that subscribe button down below. Number 5, Bianca Belair versus Tiffany Stratton. As already noted, the buff Barbie has proven she more than has what it takes to hang with the very best the world of sports entertainment has to offer, putting in a few impressive shifts opposite Becky Lynch in NXT earlier this year. But the arrogant owner of the prettiest moonsault ever still hasn't really met her athletic match. Yet. Enter Bianca Belair, along with what would likely be some terrific exchanges on the mic between the two confident and effortlessly charismatic figures. Stratton and Belair locking up in between the ropes could quite realistically steal one of WWE's biggest shows of 2024. So it feels like a bit of a no-brainer, really. This one wouldn't need any titles, stipulations, or any other additional top-level workers to sell either. It would simply be a jaw-dropping dream fight between WWE's present and its future, with an obnoxious Tiffany being taught a few breathtaking lessons by a Belair, acting as the main roster measuring stick before eventually earning the respect of the EST of WWE. Number 4, Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk. There's honestly enough potential WWE encounters involving a certain chick magnet to fill its own damn list. 2 even. But outside of a fantasy clash of icons, don't worry, we'll get there, and inevitable war with the tribal chief and his wise man, there's another intriguing CM Punk fight that feels like it could go down sooner rather than later. Even if the mighty Cody Rhodes doesn't actually finish his never-ending story at WrestleMania 40, having the volatile punker be his summer dance partner could ultimately lead to one of the most unmissable SummerSlams in WWE history. On top of the obvious elite connection to Punk's infamous second half of his AEW run simmering beneath the surface, a bitter Punk lashing out at a fiery Rhodes claiming to have actually started the revolution Phil Brooks had wanted to but never did, after crossing his legs to deliver that first monumental pipe bomb, would be riveting television. And the match itself would be the sort of hugely dramatic love letter to old school professional wrestling both men have mastered at this stage, an elusive dream classic just waiting to happen that deserves the full stadium experience in 2024. Number 3, John Cena versus LA Knight. If you're looking for a 30-minute in-ring masterpiece between two of the greatest technical performers of their generation, this specific 2024 dream bout probably isn't for you. But for a Rock versus Hogan, two megastars collide, once-in-a-lifetime match of moments, a John Cena versus LA Knight singles performance would have you completely covered in 2024. The pair teaming over the summer of 2023 felt like an extended, sweet passing of the torch of sorts. But what if one of WWE's hottest stars finally decided he'd had enough of returning icons like Super Cena, stealing his spotlight on the road to WrestleMania 40? Sure, it'd be a brave move to suddenly nudge the ridiculously over Knight down the heel path after committing so much time to his babyface push. But the cocky, yeah, man has already shown he possesses the ability to thrive in the villainous role. And having a goat fans are finally once again entirely embracing as he winds down his career do the honors for a full-time performer in need of a real big-name victory makes all the sense in the world. Again, the match itself would likely just be a sports entertainment battle of hand gestures, but those electric pre-match promos would have every fan on the planet hooked for the Knight-Cena collision. Number 2, Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Whether you like it or not, The Rock's recent appearance on the show named after his own catchphrase felt like yet another massive step towards that long-awaited war between cousins. That being said, it is worth noting how the plans at this point do appear to point to Cody Rhodes getting another crack at the tribal chief on the grandest stage. But should Rocky suddenly decide he's got a few months free on his schedule during the first quarter of 2024, you better believe WWE will do everything they can to bring Roman Reigns versus The Rock to Philadelphia. This blockbuster main event was reportedly locked in for WrestleMania 39 for a while there, and The Rock even went as far as to note to Pat McAfee before that aforementioned SmackDown appearance that he'd be open to a WrestleMania 40 epic with the head of the table if they could land on something unprecedented to give to fans. It may turn out to be a bit of an American nightmare for the bleach blonde hero of Monday nights, but if the Great One feels like finishing his own story in 2024, you would not bet against him doing exactly that. And number 1, CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. In April of this year, if somebody had told you that the idea of CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin finally throwing down in the middle of a WWE ring was actually being discussed internally, you'd have likely told that person to go to sleep. But fast forward to December, and a recently returned Best in the World actually locking up with the Texas Rattlesnake is now reportedly a possibility, according to Fightful Select, with folks within the company being optimistic over the dream match becoming a reality. So if Punk doesn't set fire to all things sports entertainment before April, and Austin is convinced to dust off his boots one more time for a match fans have been clamoring for since watching the pair verbally spar in backstage segments and WWE 2K13 interviews, one of WrestleMania 40's 2 nights could be set for a hell of a show closer. Punk unquestionably still boasts the talent to protect and carry a 58-year-old Austin through one more pulsating brawl on the biggest stage imaginable. And if WWE really want to top last year's most successful Mania of all time, somehow pulling off a Punk vs Austin, Reigns vs Rock double main event would definitely do the trick. Can you imagine? If you like this video you've just seen about epic dream showdowns, then why not check out this 10 dream matches wrestlers refuse to work video right here. It is ace. Bye bye!